Hey guys, we are back at Covenant, and today we are working on a toll booth as well as some housing for a pair of guards here along the road that runs in front of Covenant. Now, originally, I was going to have today's build included with the other part of Covenant that I'm working on right now, but once I had this constructed, I didn't want to wait to share it, so here we are. It's a bit of a scrappy build, no surprise there. And I had a lot of fun putting this together, and I think there's some pretty cool stuff here. So let's get started, shall we? So we're going to start things off with one of these red trucks here, and we're just going to put it right up against the fence. And the fence has a kind of a natural curve since it's falling over, and so we just want to get the truck right up against that fence there. Looks pretty good. I'm going to lower it down just a little bit. Now with the truck in place, we can go ahead and take some of these quarter floorboards and just run them along the truck bed, just so we can have a platform to walk along as well as lead to the sleeping area. So I'm just lining it up with the edge there, and then the rest of the boards should just snap right to it. You can see there I put it a little bit too low, so we can just raise it on up, and then go ahead and snap the rest of the boards in place. And now we're going to use Place Everywhere to just inch them back so it's not clipping with the cab of the truck there. And then we can just snap the other board to it. Nice. Now to start enclosing the area, we can take one of these half shack walls from the wood tab, and I just want to get it nice and low. I tried it when it was a little bit taller and it just looked off with the truck. For the roof, we're going to go ahead and use more of these quarter floorboards, and we just want to get the height right, and then we can just snap a couple of them together. Of course, we want to turn it so the boards are facing the correct direction. And that looks pretty good. And now we can use Place Everywhere to just change the angle of the boards so it looks more like a roof and helps the water, slide off. Then we're going to go ahead and match the angle, or as close as we can. It's going to be a little difficult to get it exactly right, and in fact, if it's off a little bit, it just kind of adds to the junky feel. And then once you have the boards angled correctly, just lower it down so it meets with the wall there. And then the second board will just snap to the first one. Nice. Now we can use the roof to line up the opposite wall, and we just want to get them so they're making contact but not clipping through too much. Now for this next wall, we're going to go into Thematic and Practical, and we're going to use one of these small shack doorways, and we're just going to go ahead and glitch that into place, and we can go back in later and fill that up with some scrap wood. It'll give it a nice junky feel. So I wanted to leave the grill of the truck there exposed. I think it'll give it a more thrown together look. So we're going to take one of these railings from Thematic and Practical and just fill in that space nicely. It looks pretty good. Now the gap between the shack wall and the railing there just bothered me a little bit too much. So we're going to take one of these shack columns and just fill in that space. Nice. Now to fill up this gap, we're going to take one of these door barricades from the Windows and Floorboards mod, and we're just going to go ahead and slot that right into place. Now to close off the structure, we're going to go into Homemaker and grab one of these half shack walls, and we're just going to go ahead and glitch that into the floorboard there, and just lower it down to meet the roof. Now you can see there I'm just trying to get it lined up but not glitching through the truck. So it takes a little bit of finagling, but I eventually get it into place. Of course, it does leave a gap between the wall and the roof there. Now to cover up that gap, we just need to slide the roof back a little bit. And once we get the spacing correct, the other roof board will just snap into place. And then we'll just have to move everything else back just a little bit. You can see they're not having too much trouble. And now we can start closing off the bottom portion. And we're going to start off with one of these dog houses from Thematic and Practical. And we just want to get it nice and close to the truck here, but not clipping through the bed at all. Now to cover up the gap between the doghouse and the floorboard there, we're just going to take one of these balcony railings and we're just going to use place everywhere to inch it down to cover up the gap. And then we'll just bring the doghouse forward so it makes contact with the railing. I'm thinking that needs to come a little bit more forward. Let's grab that and just push it through. And it's okay if it clips through the railing there a little bit. Just makes it look more attached. For the other side, we're going to use one of these half shack walls from the Homemaker tab, and it can act as a railing as well as covering up the doghouse. To cover up the back side, we can take one of these corrugated steel shack walls and just use place everywhere to shrink it down. And then we just want to get it nice and flush with the doghouse. You can see there it was poking through a little bit, so we just shrunk it down a little bit more. Nice. Now it's back to Homemaker for one of these shack columns, and we can use this to kind of create an entryway for this lower section. Just want to get that right up against the shack wall there. Back to Thematic and Practical for one of these shack railings, so we can close off the upper floor, and we just want to get it nice and close to the floorboards there. And we want it to show through the shack column, so we're just going to have to slide that back just a little bit. Nice. To cover up the back of the truck, we're going to go ahead and take another railing from Thematic and Practical, and we just want to glitch that into place, but we don't want it to clip through the truck at all. And now to finish off the roof, so we can go and grab some of these roof boards from Windows, Floors, and Roof Boards. I believe that's what it's called. I'll link all the mods I used in a Google Doc in the description, but we just want to glitch that into place, just to change up the look of the floorboards. Makes it look more like a roof. Now for the other side, we're going to go into the Homemaker tab and grab one of the standalone shack roofs. And then we're just going to go ahead and shrink that down because it is for a full-size roof and not one of these quarter boards. And the corrugated steel matches the other roof board that we placed down. Now you can see there, I'm just having to change the angle of this roof since it doesn't match exactly with the floorboard. And it did take me quite a while to get this into place. But you can see I just struggle a little bit. And you can see there, there's still a gap. So we'll have to go back up and adjust that angle again. And it's perfectly fine if it clips a little bit with the floorboards. I mean, it is pretty rusted corrugated steel, so some of the wood bits poking through really isn't a big deal. Now we're going to go ahead and put together a little guard station, and we're going to grab one of these barriers from the Homemaker tab and just get that placed in the bed of the truck. With the barricade in place, we can just grab some sandbags, and we just want to place those over the feet of the barricade, just so it looks like it has a little bit more support, and it's not going to get knocked around by people getting in and out of the truck bed. Just a matter of angling them correctly, and we don't want them to glitch through the sides of the truck bed at all. Now one thing to keep in mind when doing this is you want to make sure you turn object physics off, otherwise the sandbags fall right through the vehicle like it's not even there. And again, we want to keep them from clipping through the truck as well as the barricade. Now to add a turret for a little bit of protection. Now we're going to place that in the cab of the truck, and we just want to more or less get it in the center. And it's okay if it clips through the seat there. We're going to cover up the base with some more sandbags. Now when you're doing this, you can grab the sandbag walls. It just fills in a lot of space with one piece. The key here is that we don't want them to clip through this backside at all, so we can just slide that forward. Now it does clip through the front a little bit, but we're going to cover that up later. And then we'll just take another one and just keep stacking them into the truck. And we want to make sure though that the turret doesn't clip with the sandbags. Once most of the area is full with the sandbag walls, we can take the individual sandbags and just cover up any of the gaps we missed. So you can see there, I'm just taking one of the individual bags and just placing it over that gap there. And then just rinse and repeat until all the gaps are covered. Now to take a few more sandbag walls and just cover up where sandbags as well as the shack wall was clipping with the truck. Nice. Now it's time for the bottom floor. So we're going to take some of these quarter boards, and we just want to go ahead and glitch those into place. Now you don't want to sink them too low at first, so you can still snap more boards to it. Once all the boards are in place, we can use Place Everywhere to get them at the right height, as well as get rid of any of the clipping here. So we can just slide that over to the left, so it's not clipping with the doghouse at all. Now I'm going to make a little bed out of pallets, just so we have a flat surface to put the mattress on. So we just stack a couple of the pallets up, and then go ahead and glitch them into place. And it's perfectly fine if it clips with the truck there. You're not going to be able to see that other side at all. That looks about right. Let's make sure the mattress fits. It's a little bit big. We can just use Place Everywhere to shrink that down. And then it fits in perfectly. Nice. Now there was a little bit of clipping with the ground, as well as you can see there a little bit of sandbag poking out. So we can take one of these balcony railings and just go ahead and drop that into place, and it'll just look like extra boards. I mean, it's a fairly junky build, so little bits sticking out will fit in really nicely. And now to add some stairs. Now the first one just snaps on in, then we can use Place Everywhere to glitch the second stair into the first one. And now to cover up that flickering floorboard, we can just take one of these plyboards here and just place that on top. Just a matter of getting the angle right so it's not clipping with the truck at all. Nice. So here we are approaching the toll booth. You can see the turret protected by its sandbags right there. Those trucks make a really good enclosure for turrets, as well as the guard here being protected by the barricade and the truck bed. Be pretty hard to lay hands on him, and he has a good vantage point. So here we are on the back side of the structure, and you can see there we have some water collection right underneath the roof, so any water coming down off the roof will fall right into those barrels. And then coming around this side, we can see our first dwelling. Looks like this guy is a little bit of a scaver. We have some ammo and Nuka-Cola laid out. I mean, they are from Nuka World after all. Looks like he has some Psycho and some Jet, as well as a couple empty Nuka-Cola bottles. A little bit of a slop there. Looks like some chemicals and tools as well. It is the wasteland, and everybody's a little bit of a scavenger, I suppose. You can see he's fairly well protected. Now coming around this side, we get a nice view of that wall. I really like how cobbled together it looks. And of course here we have our dog house. Now for whatever reason I cannot get a dog in there. I'll figure that out before the final tour of Covenant. And here we are at the back side. Now I opted not to put a ramp up here. I figured it's pretty easy to climb into the bed of a truck. You can see some ammo down there, and looks like he has a rifle and some beer hanging out. And over here we have a little cap stash. I mean, he does collect toll, as well as a meal. Looks like he just has a knife stabbed into that. It's a hell of a way to eat a steak. And coming over here, we have our other dwelling. Looks like he has quite a few bottles of beer, some chemicals, even some flowers. Why not? I really like the Christmas lights. They add a little bit of extra atmosphere to the place. And then, of course, there's the main settlement of Covenant. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. Drop me a comment down below if you have any questions for me about this build or any of my other builds, or if you have a suggestion on where I should build next. That list is getting pretty long, but I will get to it. Subscribe if you want to see when my next video goes live. We'll be back here at Covenant. I have some pretty exciting stuff to share with you. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and until then, enjoy your time in the Commonwealth.